Hey, welcome to Heroes, episode 17. This is our San Diego Comic-Con post-report wrap-up where we're going to get super sweaty about everything that happened at the San Diego Comic-Con experience. We saw a lot of incredible things, and we're going to share it with you, and we're going to talk about it. And I'm Jon Schnepp, and I'm happy to have back. But first of all, we've got John Campea all the way over here. Thanks, as always. He's here with the Collider Video, the brand new spot, our home here at Collider Video. And once again, joining us is Robert Meyer Burnett. How's it going, Robert?
Thanks for having me back, man.
Yeah.
You know, I love it here. And after, I was so sweaty at San Diego. The awesomeness just kept rolling. It was amazing.
It was incredible.
Amazing.
It was a really fun, jam-packed. Everyone was in there like sardines on Saturday. Could barely walk around. But a lot of people got to panels, and a lot of people like me had to experience the pirated versions on cell phones. But some people were actually in there and able to experience it in person and see everyone talking about things and seeing the actual trailers. But let's go right to number one, and let's get talking about Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. The most incredible trailer, I personally think, that dropped at Comic-Con. And thankfully, Warner Brothers dropped it online, a high-quality version of it, only a few hours after everyone saw it, I believe. Isn't that correct? It's like a few hours.
I don't even think it was hours. I think it was
Really?
maybe like 30 minutes later.
It was yeah, I saw like a really small version of it inside Comic-Con with no sound, and my jaw dropped still with seeing it on a tiny iPhone with no sound. I still thought it was incredible. First impressions, and then later was able to see the entire thing. I'm so fantastically excited about this film, but let me pass it over. First, let's go to Robert. What are your thoughts on it?
My jaw hit the floor. Especially, it was kind of like the whole team, all the criticism that Man of Steel took about the carnage and the destruction. Watching Bruce Wayne see his own building come down. And then have you seen a GIF online where someone matched up Zod blasting from the inside of the building from Man of Steel and how they match it
With the from the perspective of Bruce?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I was like, how great. I'd be mad too. And the fact that they turned it, now the whole story, Man of Steel has just jumped up in my own estimation, but it looks epic. I mean, it looks like it's the kind of movie that you only dreamed of that we would get, and we're getting it. I can't wait. I'm very, very excited.
How about you, John?
Well, your mind was blown. Your jaw hit the floor. My hands were in my pants. This.
Is that a good way?
Yeah, in the good way. No, this was. Look, everybody knows what my life and blood runs. It's Star Wars. It's Star Wars. This trailer trumps the Star Wars trailer. This is better than the Star Wars trailer.
Ooh.
And Star Wars trailer had arenas of fans crying tears, and it's great, and it's awesome, and it's not as good as this. This was one of the best trailers I may have ever seen. This is one of the best trailers I've seen in years, for sure. This one, now, once again, put on the big asterisks. We're just talking about the trailer. The movie could end up sucking. I understand that. We saw what happened with Transformers 4. We bought into that trailer. The movie ended up. That could be the same case here. But all we got right now is a trailer, so let's talk about the trailer. It's awesome. And not only, look, first of all, anybody, I think what this trailer has done the best job of silencing the Ben Affleck, the Batflick critics. You see him in those shots and those scenes, him performing those shots and those scenes, and you're like, no, this is him. This is Batman. This is Bruce Wayne. As he's standing here, talking about that shot, and we mentioned this on Movie Talk the other day, as he's standing there on the streets watching his building being cut apart, people who work for him dying.
Right.
Watch that trailer again and just watch every little muscle in his face. The way that Ben Affleck, I don't call him Bruce Affleck, the way Ben Affleck's face acts that scene out is insane. The rage and the anger.
Oh, not only that, it completely, you always wonder, like, how are they going to, there's always some trumped up reason why superheroes are fighting in comic books. I haven't seen a better reason why Batman hates Superman. I mean, it was the most, in one moment, as an audience member, I am in. I am locked in. I believe into the conflict. I am there. I'd feel the same way he felt. I mean, you're watching people die when he's holding that little girl.
Yeah.
You know, next to the Wayne Foundation, whatever the sign is, financial or whatever.
Sure. Very reminiscent of
Wayne
the trade,
Financial,
of
yeah.
the trade towers.
Oh,
Yes.
and how he runs. I loved how he runs into the blast wave.
Yeah, while everyone's running out. It just showed what kind of a hero he is. I like that they focused mainly on Bruce Wayne as opposed to Batman and showed him as a character, Superman or Kal-El or Clark Kent had not one line of dialogue in the entire trailer.
No, that's not true. He did.
What did he say?
He talks about how Batman is this mass vigilante and blah blah blah, and then
That's
Perry White
Clark
says
Kent,
to him,
though.
That's Clark
okay, you're
Kent saying
well, okay, sorry. So we hear the one person talking in the guise of Superman. No, I guess we didn't hear him speaking in the guise of Superman.
Yeah, I almost want to go back and watch it again because I don't think it's Clark Kent saying. I think it's actually Perry White saying that as well. Perry White says, he says, I don't think Clark Kent has one line of dialogue. I would have to watch it.
It is
again.
off camera. You don't see him say it on
I was
camera.
fairly certain it was
saying.
Cavill, but you might be right. You might be
I
right.
thought it was I thought it was interesting how they kept Superman silent because I'm sure in the next trailer they're going to let him speak because I think it was really him paying for all the crimes against humanity, which he performed by saving humanity in Man of Steel. And we've talked about this a lot as far as the conjecture of what Man of Steel 2 would be about, and then Batman v Superman when it became that, what's that going to be about? And we've always said it's going to have to deal with the destruction of Metropolis. That is going to be one of the main storylines that you will not be able to just shove under the rug. It's like Superman is going to have to, take responsibility not for snapping the neck of Zod, but for letting thousands and thousands and thousands of Metropolis citizens die.
According to the newspaper heading, it was dozens.
Oh, well.
And then there's
funny.
other stuff though in that trailer. I mean, there's Jesse Eisenberg as Luthor, who looks totally unhinged, and you've got Holly Hunter as a senator. I mean, I don't think I've been as excited because it's intellectually compelling. Like when you see a Marvel movie, you're like, wow, you're going to finally see the Vision on screen. But this is like, it's like what we got in the mid '80s when Crisis on Infinite Earths came out and Watchmen came out and Dark Knight Returns came out. Comic books were suddenly really intellectually compelling, and that's what this movie seems to be. I mean, unlike what Marvel's been doing, which is a lot of fun, this seems to be like a really serious meditation on what Superman and Batman mean to a population. And
what are all those army guys with the Superman symbols?
I have a
What's
theory
that
about that.
I mean, it looks really, really good.
Yeah, it does.
Batman with his like weird, like I'm out in the desert dune Batman
Fighting
outfit.
off some of those guys.
Yeah,
but I was
going
to say, but it's not just Bruce isn't just mad at Superman. They do a great job in this trailer of adding just enough little flakes that it makes a coherent picture. Because yes, we see him being angry at Superman, but then we also hear that one line dialogue that brings it to more than just emotion for Bruce. It's he has the power to kill everybody in the world, and I have to destroy him.
Yeah, it's great.
So there's an intellectual part to it, there's an emotional part to it, and they're mashed together with the Superman soldiers, right? There's if you look at a couple of really key shots there. Number one, we see Kal-El kneeling in front of Lex Luthor. What I think is happening there is that the Senate says, we hold you responsible, and they put a leash on Superman. Superman who's like, hey, I'm all-American red, white, and blue. What does the country want me to do? And they say, you know what? You are now going to be stewarded by the great American Lex Luthor. You have to answer to Lex Luthor. You can't act without the permission of Lex. You have a liaison in a sense, right? And I think then when you see Superman go down to that sewer and there's those Superman soldiers kneeling, right? As Superman walks towards the camera, you realize he's got this look of disgust on his face. I don't think he likes them. I think they're Luthor's guys. I think Luthor puts together this sort of thing for them. And I'm not really sure. But two of the key things that stand out to me that a lot of people are talking about online about the trailer. Number one is Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. So I had a bunch of people writing to me saying, John, you're absolutely right. She sucks. Look at the way they're hiding her. They don't let you see her act or say a single line in the trailer. And to that, I would say that doesn't mean anything. She's a small character. We know she has a small role in the film, okay? So it's not a big deal that she doesn't speak. I don't think her not speaking in this one trailer for a movie that's still 8 months away says that she does a bad job in the movie. She might do a great job in the movie. I don't think the trailer says anything that way. Then I got some people saying to me, well, John, now obviously she's awesome in it. No, she's not. We see 2 shots of a girl in a costume. That's all we see. So I don't think there's anything to be discouraged by or anything to be encouraged by. But the big thing, though, is the Robin outfit. That Robin, at first I thought it was another Batman outfit until we saw the close-up shots.
Right.
That Robin outfit with the yellow writing clearly from the Joker, ha ha ha, Batman, joke's on you. So he killed Robin at some point in
with
DC's
a
history.
tire iron because that's what the outfit is holding.
Well, it didn't look like
crowbar.
it wasn't a crowbar he was holding. It was like a 7-foot long It was kind of like a half trident with a spear hook on the end, and then a straight blade, and then almost like a three-prong walker thing on the other end. It was very weird. I don't recognize the weapon myself.
That's probably what the Joker killed him with.
But I agree. I believe that's probably what the Joker killed him with. But some interesting things about that outfit. When you look at that outfit, and I've always said, I don't want Robin in these movies. But if you were to make Robin in these movies, here's how you can make him work. Make him an adult. Don't make him a 14-year-old kid. And when you look at that Robin costume with arms this big, that was the costume of an adult. It also tells us that Robin is dead, which is another layer of anger and rage for Bruce Wayne. We could go on about this trailer all day.
There's so many
good things.
What about like the horseback dudes?
Yeah, what was that
There's the
all
shot
about?
with these guys in the woods on horseback. I'm like,
then somebody swimming. They're like, some people are conjecturing.
And you saw kryptonite. You saw Zod's corpse.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw a rocket exploding and Superman.
Showing Zod's corpse is once again another, I think, a clue to Doomsday. I think.
Oh, I think you're absolutely right.
Like Luthor is going to mess around with that DNA.
I know.
Do some cloning, and that's ultimately what will bring everyone together to become the Justice League. It makes sense. I know a lot of people are like, they could have used Doomsday in another film. We had talked about that before, but it's actually kind of makes sense, at least within this story, and the usage of the Kryptonian bodies and like the armor and things like that.
I mean, there's so much interesting stuff, especially if you're a fan who's followed the Superman and Batman mythos for a long, long time. We got more than it was an embarrassment of riches in that trailer, and I've watched it like 10 times.
Oh yeah,
love it.
And the Ma Kent speech. I haven't heard anybody talk about the Ma Kent. I thought that was so hard hitting of what a mother would say. And she sounded a lot like Jonathan Kent. It's like, be their angel, be their savior, or don't.
You don't owe them anything.
Oh, that line was so great because it rung so true about what a mother would say.
But
I
now
just loved it.
Have you seen that article online? There's complaining about. Here's what they don't get right about Superman.
You know what? I'm so sick of the complainers.
Me too.
Like, you know what? Complain all you want. I don't care. I think it looks like they're on the right track to make a fantastic, amazing adaptation and the final meeting of these two really amazing characters. That last shot of like Superman breaking the Batmobile.
That shot right there.
Yeah, and then just standing up was just epic. And
it's great.
Very fun, very great trailer, and what a great way to lead off Comic-Con too. Let's move on to the next trailer, which was almost polar opposite. If you got a chance to see it, I only got a chance to see it like that kind of blurry vision of Apocalypse, like most of the rest of humanity. Only about 6,000 people really got to see the crispy, clear version of what seemed to be an incredible, fantastic next movie for Bryan Singer and an incredible next film for the X-Men. X-Men Apocalypse looks like it's dealing with so many incredible themes, and it's such an adult universe that they've brought us all into that it's great. Even though the slate is wiped clean and now we're in the 80s and they're dealing with, the X-Men are accepted and this and that. Now you bring in religion, Apocalypse. You've brought in a cult leader. You've brought in that one thing that can tear everything apart, the one thing that creates almost every war that we've ever been in, religion, and that's Apocalypse. It looks and sounds fantastic. I love the way they're dividing the X-Men into different camps, who's with him, who's against him. I love the casting. I think the new X-Men that they've brought in are fantastic. We were talking about Storm with the Mohawk.
Man. Right out. I mean, here's the thing. I even texted Brian. I'm like, Storm with the Mohawk? He gives me back a big smiley face. I mean, that shows that there is a reverence to the characters. There is a thought that goes behind. I mean, En Sabah Nur is such a cool character. I've always loved Apocalypse, and I think that what Brian's done with this franchise, he's took it. It could have been moribund after X-Men 3, The Last Stand, and man, Days of Future Past was great, but then this movie looks like it's going to take it to the whole new level.
It seriously does.
I'm very excited.
I personally hope Taylor Swift is Dazzler. Hey, we know this is a rumor. It's not even a rumor, it's a photo, but whatever. John, what do you think?
I am not as enthusiastic about the trailer. We talked about it a bit yesterday, and then I watched the trailer a few more times yesterday. First of all, can we bring up that image again that we've got on the back screen here? Let's take a look at that image again. I did not know. One of the things they did a great job was keeping secret that Arnold Schwarzenegger was reprising his role as Mr. Freeze in the X-Men year. I think that's fantastic. They're crossing it over. That's fabulous. No,
look, you know what? People said Quicksilver was going to be a bust before Days of Future Past came out.
I didn't think so until no, I take that back. I did until somebody said to me, John, remember, this is the 70s. And then I looked up and went, Yeah, I'm just banging on the look of Apocalypse.
Right.
Who cares what the look is? I mean, that's almost irrelevant.
And it's
Although-
Oscar Isaac, who's one of our best actors that's working today.
But all that being said, I am a massive fan of X-Men Days of Future Past, that movie, and what Bryan Singer did to that. I still think X-Men 2 is one of the greatest comic books movies ever made, and I'm sure we're going to get to that in just a little bit. It didn't chime with me. First of all, the apocalypse in this didn't really chime with me. Dennis pointed something out, and as I watched the trailer more and more, it really sat wrong with me. It looks like there's a mind control thing going on. Now, if they do the far more interesting thing, where somehow, Apocalypse convinces Storm to join him, convinces Magneto to join him, but if this is another cheap use of that plot device that we see used over and over and over again, mind control, he's mind controlling them, I'm going to be very, very disappointed by that. Now, that doesn't mean that if that's the plot device they use, that Bryan Singer isn't still going to make an amazing movie around it. I'm just saying I'm going to be disappointed by that part. I think it should be something better. And unlike the Batman v Superman trailer, I didn't catch as much of the narrative, or I wasn't drawn in by what is the drama going on here. And the Batman v Superman, it wasn't about explosions. It was about the drama. I didn't feel that in this. I didn't hate the trailer. It just didn't get my blood going like a Deadpool trailer or like a Batman vs Superman trailer did.
I'll say this about the X-Men Apocalypse trailer. This was a teaser. So it wasn't even a trailer.
Yes, good point.
So for me, that if I was going to compare, the first Batman v Superman trailer with this, or teaser, with this teaser, I felt a lot stronger about this teaser. I felt like I'm all in. I cannot wait to see whatever the X-Men Apocalypse full trailer is when they actually give you what the story is. Me personally, if it is Apocalypse doing mind control, then I'm looking forward to him and Xavier having some freak out mind battle towards the end. You know what I mean? It could be amazing, and I think...
Well, to your point, that one shot in the trailer when you see Xavier going, "I've never felt such power," maybe that speaks exactly what you're talking about.
It could come down to that, and I definitely see them setting up a great X-Men universe by getting the original X-Men like Jean Grey, like Cyclops and Storm, and all these Nightcrawler, all these characters to be able to make multiple different X-Men movies if they wanted to. But even with that as it is, all the characters that they have in this film right now, and splitting them off into this battle, basically what's going to be a religious battle, is pretty exciting when you think about, hey, everyone's excited, everyone knows about mutants now, and now it's going to be a mutant battle, basically religious.
And how relevant. I mean, we're dealing in our own country. It's so divisive in terms of the right wing against the left wing, the Democrats. And if they're going to bring this in, you've got if he truly is some kind of religious leader, and he's dividing the mutants based on party lines, essentially, it's going to be as relevant as anything else. I mean, I think Bryan's X-Men movies, all four of them, have always had a really interesting undercurrent of social relevance that other comic book movies don't necessarily have.
And that brings that power that you really need to make something just a cut above.
Right, absolutely.
So I really didn't get the sense from this that they're going to go in the direction of religion. I got the sense from En Sabanur's speech that he sees himself as a god. He just does. He sees himself as a god, and I think he was speaking in those terms. I don't think you're going to see this devolve into, because you were pointing out the X-Men movies have always skirted and talked in allegorically about social issues, right? I don't see them breaking that trend and now coming outright and making this a religious issue. I don't think that's what it's going to be. I think it's just Insabanur mind controlling a bunch of people, through powers, mind controlling them. And I really don't see them making this a religious issue, a religious battle. I don't think they want to go there. I don't think that's their place to go.
Well, metaphorically, it already is a religious battle. The four horsemen of the apocalypse.
Right.
Angel. I mean, he calls himself a god.
Oh, yeah, that's how he models himself. But I don't see the essential struggle of the movie being a religious struggle as much as is a megalomaniac character who sees himself as a god.
Yeah, that's my point, though.
Well,
he's power struggles emanate from religious struggles.
And he'll take, essentially Magneto and his whole thing about we're Homo superior and we're better than Homo sapiens. And maybe they're not, when we say religion, it's not necessarily about God in the sky, but about the supreme being on Earth. Mm-hmm. And Sabanur is the supreme mutant that exists. So follow him. He's been around since ancient Egypt. was around, and he built the pyramids as we saw at the end of
The first
Days of
mutant,
Future
I
Past.
guess.
Yeah,
is
the
what
first
he
mutant.
is.
Now,
And-
here's the thing: in the Apocalypse storyline, in the Age of Apocalypse storyline, anyway, it ultimately comes down to Apocalypse versus Magneto. Do you think that's the direction they're going? Do you think, because he clearly gets Magneto on his side at one point, do you think this ultimately could come down to Magneto and Apocalypse, or do you think they're going to go in a different direction?
I ultimately will come down to Magneto and Apocalypse.
Yeah.
It has to, because basically I think he'll fight Xavier, and Xavier will be able to weaken him, but Magneto's going to have to come in for that, that final boom.
Because ultimately, Magneto doesn't want to be a guy like Apocalypse is bad for everyone.
Yeah.
I think
Magneto
Magneto
doesn't wanna be
fancies
second,
Him,
yeah.
he fancies himself. I mean, Magneto's going to be able to lead, whereas Apocalypse is a megalomaniac. Magneto's not a megalomaniac, and he has a reason. Like, he lived through the Holocaust, so there's no reason why he's going to believe. But this guy's even more of a megalomaniac than he's ever seen before, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And he's like, we got to get rid of this guy.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to some amazing speeches by Apocalypse. That's why I cannot wait. I mean, everything from that trailer, everything everyone said, just the dialogue rang so true to me. That's why I'm all in. I'm really invested.
I mean, Oscar Isaac, Poe Dameron in Star Wars, and Apocalypse.
It's a good year.
It's a good year.
It's a good year
Oscar
to be
Isaac's
Oscar
probably,
Isaac.
He's such a great actor.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next one. The next smash out crazy hit of Comic-Con, Suicide Squad. Come on now. Crazy. Who would have thought? Like, if I was talking to you guys a year ago.
Never.
And we were like, it's that same kind of Guardians of the Galaxy thing where people were like, what the hell is going on? That Marvel's next movie is Guardians of the what? Because Guardians of the Galaxy, it's the way you're going to get introduced into the cosmic world of Marvel. Everyone was like, this is going to be the biggest flop, yada, yada, yada. Some of us insiders were like, why don't you hold on to your pants? Wait till you see what the heck's going to go on. Bam, explosion. Suicide Squad, hey, I'll admit, I was like, that sounds weird. Why are they doing that when they have all these other characters in the DC universe? And they hit it out of the park with Man of Steel. Next up is Suicide Squad. It just didn't make sense. And now it makes sense. And now it fits in so well. And not only does it fit in well, but it almost feels like it's a little tip of the hat to Marvel, because DC is like, yeah, we get it. You're doing you did your little 70s Cold War thing, and now you're doing your Spider-Man John Hughes thing. We're doing a gunfight. We're doing a big battle. We're doing a Seven Samurai. We're doing a big thriller, espionage, action battle sequence with bad guys.
How about a giant guy? Someone's in a panda outfit with a machine
I
gun.
love that shot.
I mean, that was. I looked at that. And we
Someone
talked
has a
about
goat hat to head too. It's
we
like,
talked about it earlier, and I was a big advocate, proponent of this movie. But actually seeing what they did, I'm like, okay. I'm so glad that I was an advocate of this movie, that I loved how the Joker looked. But how great is it? One of the first things that Amanda Waller says is, Superman brought all these people out of the shadows.
I know, that's right.
So
It's his
immediately,
fault.
if you want to talk about world building and how they're going to tie all of this in,
Yeah.
she comes right out and says it in the opening of that trailer.
First line, second line.
I mean, and we can, if they screw up, we have plausible deniability.
Right.
I mean, it's exactly
And that
what
one
I
line by
wanted.
her, getting people to act against their own best interests, their own self-interest is what I do.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they nailed Amanda Waller.
They
in that.
such great casting with that actress.
And
I
not only
love
do
her.
they mention Superman, they show you Batman on the top of the Joker's Lamborghini, and then Harley Quinn busts out I hope you have insurance. I mean, I'm already in.
John, what did you think about this trailer?
Well, look, what this whole movie, the existence of this movie is DC playing to their strengths, all right? Because if you want to talk DC versus Marvel, which I think is a fruitless conversation to have, let's just be thrilled we're all getting these great comic book movies. It doesn't matter if the Marvel title comes first or the DC, but the one thing that you could say that DC has an edge over Marvel in when it comes to cinematic stuff is they have the better villains. Notwithstanding Loki, I think as much as I love almost all the Marvel films, the one normal criticism I usually have at the end of the film is kind of an underused villain, kind of a forgettable villain, kind of like across the board. With Suicide Squad, this is DC saying, we believe we have the more interesting, the more compelling, the more watchable villains, and we're going to make a movie about the bad guys. Now, look, everybody was waiting for this trailer, and they were all waiting to see two things, and it wasn't Will Smith, and it wasn't Jai Courtney. They were waiting to see Harley Quinn, and they gave us Harley Quinn.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, right from the beginning of her doing her Cirque du Soleil bit, like hang up, and the music choice of the trailer was perfect. Because the last time I heard that song in a movie was in Zoolander. after the funeral of the supermodels. That's the last time. But so they kind of pulled an Avengers Age of Ultron, right?
Where they took the Pinocchio.
A Pinocchio song, slow, creepy, but it worked. It worked for this. And then some guard gets into the prison and she kills the guard, right? The other thing is that we were all looking forward to, obviously, was that guy. It was the Joker.
Yeah.
And look, for all the criticisms that everybody wanted to have about the look of the Joker, and look, I said I wasn't sure how I felt about the look. I said, partially it looks really cool and wild and maniacal and whatever, but the other half just kind of feels like soccer hooligan. I wasn't really sure how to read it. But none of that's relevant. What is relevant is that when you hear him speak in this trailer, that's the Joker.
Right.
That is. And Dennis pointed this out, and I completely agree with him because I thought the same thing. When you hear him talk, I thought that was a perfect blend of the Mark Hamill Joker and the Heath Ledger Joker blended into one. And when he says, "Oh, I'm not going to kill you. I'm just going to hurt you really, really bad." And then it's like, that's him. That's the Joker. I don't care about the tattoo. I don't care about the silver. That's the fucking Joker.
Yeah,
that's the Joker. That's the Joker right there. And we got him, and it's awesome. And everything else looked fine. It was a teaser trailer.
Yeah.
We still didn't get it. And, you know, Deadshot looked fine. Jack Courtney looked fine as Captain Boomerang. Everything else looked fine. But they totally nailed what they had to nail. And that's what got me. Do I think it's an amazing trailer? It's a really good trailer, but it got what it had to get. And that's the part that excites me.
Once again, it's a teaser.
Yes.
It's a little bit longer than a teaser, but boy, is it a great teaser because it gets you set up to know what the Suicide Squad is, who are the Suicide Squad, and who are they fighting. And it looks like they're going to be fighting the Joker, or this is just the setup to get to the next level. And we, you know, if you've been following stuff online, you've seen a lot of different weird characters and pictures just from the stuff they were shooting outside. You're like, what's that? We didn't see any of only half of that in this trailer. So obviously there's plenty more to be seen and know about as far as the movie. So
you don't know what their mission is.
No,
like
not
they're
at
being
all.
put together to do something. And I have to tell you, because I have to mention it, Hot Toys announced that they have the Batman versus Superman license. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I hope they do the Suicide Squad because I want every one of those figures.
Yeah, you're
I
right.
want them now. I want them on my shelf.
yeah.
I want them.
One other thing that people were mentioning a lot from the trailer is when the Joker is going through clearly escaped in the asylum and he's going through the asylum. They say when a lot of people are speculating that when he's got somebody down on the table and he's going, I'm not going to kill him, it's going to hurt you really, really bad. A lot of people are speculating, oh, that's Jason Todd, that's the Robin. No, it's not. There's clearly a shot in there where it's Harley Quinn or whatever her name is before she becomes Harley Quinn.
Quinzel.
Quinzel, where she's in the same outfit that she's wearing in the comic books as well, in her tie and everything, her white shirt and her glasses, and that's her. So that's probably when he, transformed her.
Right. There's got to be a flashback sequence. So we're seeing sequences all out of order. And then we also see the Joker hanging out with that panda that's shooting the gun. So there's like a lot of crazy chaos happening. And that's the kind of thing that you like when you see a trailer. Like what I like is I don't want to see too much of the story. I want to see bits of the content. Right. How did they shoot it? What does it look like? Who are the characters in it? I just want little glimpses of what I'm going to see in the film. And I think Suicide Squad is an incredibly well put together trailer, which leads me to a next middle interim topic where we're going to talk about that trailer dropping online before it was supposed to be dropped. And then eventually Warner was like, look, since it's already online, we're going to drop it. Just sort of what happened with the Batman v Superman teaser a while back. It was like, a shaky cam Russian version, and then bam, all right, here it is. But that took 4 days. This one was literally a day later. So let's talk a little bit about that. What do you guys think about trailers being premiered at giant festivals and then being snuck online? Somebody shot it. We all watched it. So, technically we're with the person who we're helping by being participants, but it's almost too much to see the hey, look, there's no way I was getting into that Deadpool, trailer, but yet someone posted it online. Granted, it's a shaky cam, horrible quality thing. I'm not getting the full experience like what everyone else got in Hall H. I'll take it. I'll take whatever little scrap that I'm given online. I will watch a shaky thing. It's like, that's how I saw the XMen one, some shakiness and weird. I want to see the full quality one. I would love it if Fox just put that X-Men Apocalypse trailer up online right now so that we can all enjoy it. But if they want to wait a little bit, I can understand that. We talked a little bit about that on Movie Talk earlier today. John and I both had a slightly differing opinion, but we agreed on pretty much we're just coming at from different perspectives. John, let's talk about the whole idea of studios bringing something that's specially made for the convention, but in the marketplace that we live in now, where everyone has a cell phone and everything is instantly exposed, and also the marketplace is so different now, being just very internet savvy. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, it raises a couple of interesting ethical questions, actually, because the one thing, like, even when we discussed earlier today, we agreed on all the core points, though. Like, core point number one, if a studio is going to show you something special and they say, hey, don't record this, then you're a jerk if you record it. I mean, they're showing it to you, and they're asking you not to record it. You're a jerk if you record it. We also agreed that we're all hypocrites, because while we agreed that it's a jerk who recorded it, we're going to run out and watch it online the moment it gets available. We also agree that in today's day and age, that when studios bring these things there, where everybody's carrying a global communications device, video and audio communications device in their pocket, you have to be prepared for the fact this may come out and leak online. And then the fear about, well, does this mean, will studios then start going, hey, then we're not going to show anything there or whatever? It's a difficult, tricky situation to navigate. I think there's 2 points of the argument. There's the shoulds, and then there's what will actually happen. The shoulds are, a studio should go to Comic-Con understanding that what we show here is going to leak, so we should plan to 24 hours later have it available online. We should plan to 12 hours later have it online. Now, my fear about the reality of that is that a studio like Paramount, who may go, well, we're not ready to have that. We don't want this online yet, and therefore, if we have to just accept it's going to go online if we show it at Comic-Con, then we're just not going to go to Comic-Con and we're just not going to show anything. That's my fear. So I'm hoping over the next 12 months, a nice balance is found in there somewhere where, hey, maybe they find a fast and efficient way, because right now there is no fast and efficient way, to check phones when you walk in. That, like, a lot of movie premieres that Schnepp and I go to, when you go into the theater, you have to take your phone out and put it in a Ziploc bag that they hold on to. Then you can get your camera back when you leave. It's a very long, painful process. Maybe they'll find a quick way to do that. Or maybe studios will just realize, look, if we're going to Comic-Con, we just have to accept this. Or maybe they come up with new technology that says all cell phones automatically, like a little EMP pulse that they send up before the trailers start turning off. I don't know. I just hope they can come up with something.
So I sort of have a different take on it, in the sense that Comic-Con is the launch pad, you know, and they're bringing this material to a live audience of 6,000 people, and they want those 6,000 people to go on social networking, to start talking about this, whether it's good or bad. The thing is, what we saw at Comic-Con this year, every trailer was a mic drop. You know, every trailer was, they knew Warner Brothers, everyone's like, Warner Brothers versus, they suck. I mean, all the Marvel acolytes, Marvel's got a big head start on their universe building. No one believed that DC was ever going to be able to catch up, and DC just came out swinging with that Batman v Superman trailer, and then follows it up with Suicide Squad that gives you little glimpses about how Suicide Squad fits into the same universe. And they subtly, I mean, people can talk about Wonder Woman all they want, but we saw, like you said, one shot.
Right.
But they still basically came out and said, we're laying it all on the line here. And I mean, I've watched that trailer, both of those trailers, like 10 times each. And I think that Comic-Con should be the launch pad, give it 24 hours, but know that this is where you unleash it. If you've got the goods, man, if you can bring it, then you unleash it. Maybe wait 24 hours to give people at Comic-Con an exclusivity.
Right.
Keep that, but then let it go, because, man, how many people have watched that Batman v Superman?
Millions.
Millions, because it's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I know Diane Nelson, the president of DC Entertainment, I wrote her a message. I said, man, you really dropped the mic there at the panel. I take a knee, Your Grace, you know?
Right.
And it was amazing. I mean, I was blown away.
But
and
I think you're both right. I think that, you know, Comic-Con is now the place to promote and drop and do multiple mic drops. Yeah. And I just didn't like the attitude as far as what I read this morning of the announcement saying we're going to put out Suicide Squad. We were going to wait 3 months, but now since somebody, you know, is forcing our hand, it was kind of it left a sour taste in my mouth, because it's like, look, every studio should know that Comic-Con is where everything is going to erupt. If you have some amazing content, which is what Suicide Squad is, and a very polished and finished trailer, which is what it is,
right,
then you drop it right then. And if your marketing team is all bumbling and can't handle it, then that's on you. Don't blame all the fans that are like, cannot wait to share this amazing thing that you just dropped on them. It's almost too much. It's like there were not just 1, 2, 3, 4 leaked Suicide Squads. There's a lot of people shooting whatever they can because, hey, look, that's what Comic-Con is now. I mean, it's like, you're right. It's like, unless they're taking people's phones, it's literally that you cannot contain that.
You can't police it.
To speak to your point, though, I would like to see the fan community take some responsibility as well. And let's have a synergistic relationship with the people that are making this great content. I mean, we live in a world of wonder. Like I posted on my Facebook page, I couldn't believe what I was seeing when I watched that Batman versus Superman trailer. I mean, it was like one of the great comics during the renaissance of the mid to late 80s. And the fact that they're making this amazing stuff, I think we as fans, we do owe it to the content creators. We owe it to the filmmakers to pay them the respect they deserve. Because if they're going to make this stuff for us, we should, at least as fans, we should be respectful. And if they could figure out a way, I mean, let's face it, there's a dickish element in fandom. I got it before you did.
No.
Like, why not? Right?
No.
Why not, though? Why not make it so, foster respect on both directions?
Sure,
Warner
drop
Brothers
it the
doesn't have
next
to come out
day.
and go, oh, we're going to, look, if you were going to drop it in 3 months, why'd you play it at Comic-Con?
Exactly.
Because then all the people want to see it. They're reading, as soon as I know I missed something, I'm like, oh man, I was in a panel, I missed the apocalypse. I know it's going to drop online, and I want to see it because I'm mad I missed it. You know, I talked to Brian. You
give the people who waited outside for 6 hours, you give them a good day head start. You got to see it first. You got to tweet about it first. You got to talk about it first. Then we're going to put it online. Let everyone know we're going to put this online for the entire world to see tomorrow. But you get to see it first. And don't tweet it. Don't film it. We're putting a high quality version of it on tomorrow. Give us that respect. Give us that day.
Yep.
That's what I think they should do it that way. And then everyone will feel good about it. I think the reason people are like trying to throw it online is not just to be first and I saw it first, but to share it because they know how it just gets shut down.
Right.
So,
well, look what Fox did with the Star Wars behind the scenes.
That was
footage.
fantastic.
The way they had an incredible panel. They won Hall H this year, and everyone really loved what they did. But they were respectful for the fans because they knew they couldn't hold back, and they knew that behind the scenes footage was epic. I mean, any naysayers? I mean,
I don't know. I thought the behind the scenes footage was nice and it was good, but it was also not important. They put that together knowing this is just something we can put together and we can put it out online tomorrow. It's that behind the scene footage was not a key, cog in what their overall marketing plan is for Star Wars.
But
unlike,
they showed some
trailer.
really interesting
They showed
things
some
in
very
that
interesting
behind the
things,
scenes
yeah.
trailer. I mean, I was like people fighting and like, wow, if you look close, there's a lot of really interesting stuff.
I will
in
say
there.
this: it was a marketing coup, but they also totally screwed Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Oh, my
they
goodness.
didn't have that set
Tell
up
the story,
too well.
'cause
Yeah.
a lot of people may
A
not
lot
know
of people
about
don't know.
this.
It's like they had the Star Wars panel, and then they had John Williams in the Philharmonic like outside, and they said, "Hey, we are holding a private performance for you. Come with us right now and watch John Williams perform."
Was it actually John Williams conducting?
Or it was the Philharmonic
Well, it was
Orchestra.
the Philharmonic
It was
Orchestra, yeah, performing Star Wars
Performing
music.
Star Wars outside, and they had giant fireworks. But it was all like 6,000 or 7,000 people left, and Kevin was going to perform. Did perform afterwards, but it was almost to an empty house. Where it was just like he would have had a packed house, but they basically made everyone leave to go.
Right.
So that's kind of like really
You have to look up the pictures for this because it's very sad but fascinating at the same too. It's Hall H, Kevin Smith, and literally you might be in a 6,000 seat place. You might have seen 15 to 20 bodies. It was like,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah, it was
poor
bad.
Kevin
It was
Smith.
bad planning, and I feel sorry because Kevin is an incredible performer and talker. So it's like,
Yeah.
those few people who were there got the best show of their lives. That's what I would imagine. All right, let's move on to another incredible trailer that dropped. This time, effing R-rated Deadpool style. This trailer for Deadpool. I don't know what else to say that other than I cannot wait to see this film. Because Because it's just everything that every superhero film has not been, aside from maybe Kick-Ass. This movie is pushing boundaries and in a fun and just having fun with everything. Just breaking the fourth wall, being as foul as possible, just throwing barbs back and forth at each other. I love T.J. Miller and Ryan Reynolds' chemistry. I think Ryan Reynolds is perfect as the merc with the mouth, and I love all the little jabs at like Green Lantern and it is sewing my mouth shut, and it's just like it's going to be a smorgasbord of entertainment. Well, John, what do you think about this Deadpool trailer?
I think, and some people may want to debate this, I think the Deadpool trailer, and I remember telling a buddy of mine this going in, I said the Deadpool trailer, if they show us a trailer, is going to be the most important trailer of Comic-Con. Why? Because look, we know Batman vs Superman is going to be awesome. We didn't know it was going to be that awesome.
Right.
It's important that we see what the Joker's kind of going to be. That was important. But going into Deadpool, are they going to get Deadpool? Are they going to properly give us Deadpool? And that was now a lot of little, the little cute little marketing things they've done kind of look good, but we didn't see a trailer. This trailer told us they got us Deadpool. That's Deadpool. Yeah. In the same way that I was saying that's the Joker, that's Deadpool. And I love, from every way you were talking about it, I still thought the most brilliant thing that they did at that thing when it's Ryan Reynolds starts talking about, brought to you by the same studio who had Deadpool's mouth sewn shut. Like the fact that they went after that, it was so irreverent. And what's that girl's name again?
Teenage Negasonic Warhead.
Right. So what's your name? Teenage Negasonic. He was like, what the? That's the girl's name. Like they got it. They totally, was it the best trailer of Comic-Con? No, but it was the most important. They did exactly what they needed to do. Now, all of us who were like, hey man, I'm really curious to see which way Deadpool's going to go. Now we've gone from curious to just excited, and it did its job, and well done, Fox, with what they did with this thing.
I think it's also kind of a watershed moment in the sense that Deadpool is really a film that exists because fans demanded it.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds stayed behind it, and it was willed into existence by the people that really wanted it to happen. And it's a watershed moment in the sense that the studios are truly giving the fan base and these audiences something. I mean, it's not a huge budget movie, but it's set in the XMen universe. And the fact that it exists at all is a studio basically saying, we heard you, and we're going to allow a movie to get made. We're not going to punk out and make it PG-13. I mean, we're going to go for the hard R. We're going to let the creators fulfill their vision of the character, the vision of the character that you want to see. And they did that. And I think it's a real vote of confidence in the studios recognize there's a huge fan base, and let's service that fan base. So no longer can we go like they don't know what they're doing. They knew exactly what they were doing. Yeah. And it was a big present wrapped up in a red and black box.
Let's talk about
I can't wait to
why
see
the movie was even greenlit is because of a leaked trailer.
I still to this day do not believe for 1 second that trailer that a year ago at Comic-Con was leaked.
Well, let's put it this way.
I think that was very planned and brilliant.
Brilliantly planned, but like I think Ryan was giving a little tip to the hat when at the beginning of the panel he was like, "And look, we would never be here if it wasn't one of you, he's been like doing that almost fake thing where one of you people who leaked it and let everyone know how
he's
much."
Pointing at the Fox executive.
Yeah, it was literally like they made this proof of concept and they were like, "Look, put it online. It doesn't matter how you put it online. Let them see it, and then if people say it sucks, we'll walk away."
Yeah, and that was the brilliant thing about it. They put it out because, look, it's like Amanda Waller. Hey, if it goes south, plausible deniability. That was a fan leak. People didn't like it. But they put it out. But yeah, they put it out. But the reason it got made, and this is why I think you were going at, and I think you're absolutely right, it got made because the fans reacted to it, regardless of how it got online, right? Everybody lost their minds over it and loved it, and we did too. And I think that ultimately, look, it's a combination of Ryan Reynolds, his tenacity and refusing to let this project go, the team of people he's been working with, and the writers who've refused to let this go. And look, what nobody's talking about right now, but we will on opening weekend of box office, is this. Fox has done this so right because in an age where nobody seems to know how to make a freaking movie for under $150 million, I think the budget on this was like 35.
Right.
Fox is going to reap the rewards. Saying, look, we can make a great, fun, exciting, funny, engaging, entertaining movie for a reasonable budget and make big money, and they are going to be rewarded for this come February of next year. And it's going to be great. And I hope that encourages other studios to get some of their properties. Like, we don't need to invest $145 million to make this movie. Let's make this movie for $30 million and just make it awesome.
Yeah.
And I hope that surges in a renaissance.
Yeah, and also not be afraid of the R rating. R ratings are really just content, boundary pushers, like all the rating systems are. And if a movie or a story has to be beyond a PG-13, don't cripple it by making it a PG-13. That's something that this film is going to embrace. And I think the fans who are going to embrace this are going to embrace it fully. Like, I love the foul-mouthed Deadpool, and I love the ultra-violence. That's why I'm going to see it. They're going to pay with it in the show with their money. So,
I mean, look, they test screen and they have all kinds of research screenings for every other movie. So in a sense, they pre-researched this.
Yes.
Whether they leaked the trailer intentionally or not, they found out that the fan base wanted it, and they made it limited budget. It's going to work for them financially, and they're going to reap the benefits. And they did it. I think more films should do that. If somebody wants to do, I love Moon Knight. I'd love to see somebody do a Moon Knight, trailer, and maybe it'll work.
Have you guys seen that little fan-made film online? Right, I don't know how long ago it came out. I just watched it for the first time a few months ago of Batman fighting Deadpool.
yes.
Where Deadpool's got Catwoman held hostage.
It's great.
Drama. Isn't that great?
Well, it's the same team that do the superhero beatdown.
Right. They
Those
did a
guys,
great
Aaron
job.
Shanky and his dad, and this whole team, Marisha Ray, they do this show once a month, once every other month. But they just had, I believe it was Deadpool and fighting the Joker and Harley Quinn and Domino. Deadpool and Domino. So that's the newest one. So you check it out if you haven't seen it. They're really well done, really well produced. Same team that did Batman versus Darth Vader.
Right.
So they do these really crazy
Right.
kind of fun mashups. Great stuff. Let's move on to our last topic of the trailers, which is just so many incredible trailers at San Diego Comic-Con. This one is the Fantastic Four trailer. So this one just officially dropped for everyone to see now. You can just watch it online, but it was only at Comic-Con, and it was with one of their panels where they had everybody come out. So let's talk. I'll lead it off this time, talking about Fantastic Four. For me, I have been quiet about my distaste of the first two Fantastic Four films that they made. They just didn't get it right. That was my first comic book, loving monsters as a kid. This was the big giant four monsters always fighting other monsters, and that's what got me really into comic books was the Fantastic Four. So I've always wanted to see a really cool, well-done movie version of it. Like I usually say, movies are the Elseworlds of comic books for me because I don't care if the movie sucks. I've always got the original comic. So they can take chances, they could take risks. It doesn't have to be exactly like the comic book. Nothing will ever be exactly like the comic book. So a movie is just a different version of something. So I think with this version of the Fantastic Four, it feels like they nailed it. To me, every trailer that I've seen, even though when I first heard about it, I was not 100% into it. It didn't sound right. I was like, oh, they're going with the Ultimates versions and this and that. Felt like, oh, they're going to combine everybody's powers again, this and that. But upon seeing the trailer and hearing about what Simon Kinberg and Josh Trank were trying to do with it, and with their inspiration into making it a horror science fiction film, drawing inspiration from David Cronenberg. They got me with that very first interview where I was like, all right, I'm in. I saw the trailer. I was in on that. And since every single thing that's dropped right up to this final trailer, I'm 100% on board. I just can't wait to see the movie. This final trailer, they did some color correction stuff, which I think they were just doing on purpose. Like, maybe they didn't have it done, but those red flames that are in the other trailers are now green, and they show you that that's like the kind of greenish imbued powers of Doctor Doom. So I don't know. I mean, to me, I cannot wait to see this movie and just see how the story unfolds. But this last trailer specifically showed Ben Grimm and Reed Richards' friendship as kids. And I think that bond and the bond of the family, these four people who get mutated and become a family, is definitely one of the storylines of the Fantastic Four. Can monsters hang out together? So it's sort of like that's what this is really about. What do you guys think?
Well, I think I like this trailer a lot, but my problem with the Fantastic Four movies, even going back to the first two, to Tim Story's films, is once the Fantastic Four are established, nothing happens. Like, they don't get caught up. It's the storyline that I want to see that they get involved with. Like, we're going to get an origin story, and here's the characters are all set up, but then what? I mean, Doctor Doom never seemed that formidable in the last. And I'm not seeing a storyline in these trailers. Stuff's happening. They drop the thing out of an airplane. That's cool. But why am I don't know what's going on. I guess I'll wait and see the movie. But I'm not, like, Batman versus Superman gives me a sense of what the story is. And I know that there's going to be this epic conflict that seems, even based on the trailer, something that's really compelling intellectually and emotionally. I don't know what that story is with this movie. I haven't seen any indication of that in the trailers. Although I did like seeing it is a great step in the right direction.
John, go ahead.
I didn't like this new trailer as much as the last one that came out, but I still liked it quite a bit. You pointed out some of the key things already. We see Richards and Grimm early on when they're younger. I thought that was really cool, and you see the origins of that energy bubble that's supposed to be a teleporter, and now he perfects that as an adult, as a scientist, and that's what they're using to travel in and out of the different dimensions. I think we did get a sense of at least the overall arc of, now when they come back, Doom is, something is coming. What's coming? Doom. And now he is the threat, and the Fantastic Four, he's more powerful than any of us, but he's not more powerful than all of us. That becomes a thing. But what is the underlying narrative of the movie? We still don't know yet.
Don't know.
And that is something that I do wish we had seen in either the last trailer or in this one, and we haven't. But the trailers have been good enough for me to go, okay, I'll let that go for now. I still got a sense of what I'm going to get when I see this movie, even though I would have liked to have a little bit of a better sense, because I agree with you on that. But, I got to agree with you, Schnepp. Everything they have put out to me just makes me more confident in the movie. It doesn't guarantee a good movie, but man, if you go back now a year when they first announced the cast and the Fantastic Four babies and all this kind of stuff, where I was then compared to where I am now is night and day.
Absolutely.
And that's because I think they have done this marketing. They've done a really good job with marketing.
I'm in. I want to see it. I like the science fiction elements in it, the nature, the fact that they're going interdimensionally as opposed to going out into orbit and being hit with cosmic rays. I mean, there's a lot to love about what's going on. I just wish I felt that there was more of an epic story happening, that the Fantastic Four are getting embroiled in a storyline. I love Byrne's Fantastic Four and the epic cosmic stories that he would send them on.
But I look at it, this is a new origin.
Right.
And the Fantastic Four is like sort of like, I look at it like Star Trek. They're on a 5-year mission or something.
Right.
And they are just starting out right now. The next one, they could go to the microverse. The next one, they discover the Inhumans. Well, they won't be able to now because, Marvel owning them. But that's sort of what the Fantastic Four were. They were like the challengers of the unknown, but they were monsters. And they were always uncovering and finding different monsters, where either on a tiny island with the Mole Man and his freakish, weird creatures from underground, or in like the microverse where they had to fight Psycho Man and these like tiny people. So, that's what the Fantastic Four is all about. So, they literally have like 7 movies they could do. Bam, bam, bam. Like,
Let me ask you guys this: over or under? The number is 50%. Over or under? The chances that mutants will be referenced in the new Fantastic Four movie, over or under 50%?
Under.
Over.
I'll go slightly under. Okay.
Right on.
It's curious.
All right, let's move on to a thing I like to call minor mutations, where we're going to just like list off a whole bunch of like things that happened at San Diego Comic-Con, information that dropped, and we're just going to start it off, and then we're going to talk about it. So, number one, Hugh Jackman made a little reference about, hey, look, just call me Old Man Logan. We don't know if he was talking about Wolverine 3, but he was referencing he's Old Man Logan because he's been in all the X-Men as Wolverine. But I kind of take that as a little tip saying, check it out. That's where we're going to be rocking for his last appearance as Wolverine, which sounds perfect if they adapt even half of Old Man Logan. Number 2, we got Green Arrow's brand new outfit. It's for the TV show. Amel released some pictures, and everybody was pretty happy with that, I guess. Number 3, you got Maxwell Lord is cast in the new Supergirl series. So Maxwell Lord was obviously, there's a picture from the very famous, looks like Kevin Maguire's art right there from the original Justice League. A lot of funny squinty faces. That's what I remember. And Blue Beetle and Booster Gold having some battles. And, of course, Fire and Ice. Who would forget those two ladies? And number 4, you got Tonya Kebbell talking about being Dr. Doom. So he's basically talking about maybe some of the origins that we had originally heard about him being some kind of a hacker have maybe been cut out, and maybe some of his Latverian origins will then henceforth be back on the table, so to speak. Let's talk about some of those topics. John?
I thought it was a really fun thing that Hugh Jackman said, but I don't think it means anything. I don't think they're going to do Old Man Logan. I mean, very cool if they did, and it's always a possibility. But the way I interpreted the way he did, he was just having fun and said the kind of thing. The other thing that stands out to me is not actually on our list, and that's news that dropped during Comic-Con that Ben Affleck is indeed going to be directing the standalone Batman film and writing it with Jeff Johns.
Right.
And Jeff Johns is going to be co-writing that Batman film with him. I mean, to me, that is the best of every world. It's curious that Chris Terrio isn't going to be doing it, considering Ben Affleck brought him in to this deep, but he might be busy on other things at the time. I think the fans of DC Comics are going to be over the moon that Jeff Johns is going to be co-writing this. And that to me was, aside from trailers, that news was the big news of Comic-Con to me.
And is that that's official now?
I believe Jeff Johns has commented on it. So
yeah, it was in Deadline, I think.
It was in Deadline. And
that's all I've heard it from. So that's why I know we talked about it this morning. I hope it's true because I think Jeff Johns
I have to double check it, but I do believe Jeff Johns has commented on it.
And they are calling it The Batman,
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Because that's very important. For a sweaty, it's like, just call it The Batman because that's too cool.
You know, speaking of sweaty, I love Maxwell Lord. I mean, I loved the Kevin Maguire, J.M. DeMatteis, Keith Giffen Justice League series from the mid-'80s. I thought, come on, the classic moment where Batman takes out Guy Gardner.
Yeah, who wouldn't want to punch Guy Gardner?
You know, and they're laughing about it. I love Maguire's art. I remember getting the first issue, that just loving, because the facial expressions supported the comedy. And I loved Maxwell Lord. I mean, and Elrond, you know, and all of the. And then what happens with Maxwell Lord later in the 90s and the aughts, where he becomes a supervillain, essentially. Spoiler alert.
And I think they were going to use that in George Miller's Justice League. That was the script, was basically.
But I just love Maxwell Lord as this guy who comes in and basically monetizes the Justice League. You know, turns him into, you know, he becomes the Donald Trump of the JLA, which is kind of what he was supposed to be. And I can't believe that we're getting Maxwell Lord is going to be portrayed. I can't believe we live in the world we live in. I mean, I have to change my shirts every day because of how sweaty I get. I mean, it's true. We live in a time of just, we should all be losing weight as much as we sweat.
Right.
It's amazing.
I lost a cubic ton at Comic-Con. I was just like, what's going on?
I thought John Hamm would have been a pretty cool Lord.
He would have been a great Maxwell Lord.
I think he would have been a great Maxwell Lord.
Yeah, he might be priced out for the Supergirl at this point.
Yes, for Supergirl TV series, yes.
And, you know, Green Arrow costume's cool. I really want them to go back to the Mike Grell, the Longbow Hunters. I love the Longbow Hunters. I don't know if it was sort of Dark Knight.
Of course. Well, that was the Prestige format.
Yeah,
3
it was.
issue,
it was after Dark Knight Returns, you know, and I just, plus it's called the Longbow Hunters, which is great. And I was a huge John Sable freelance fan and Star Slayer, and I would love to see that storyline set in Seattle.
Hey, I want to see Star Slayer. Let's do it. All right.
Oh, man, that would be great.
Let's go to our what we call the flashback moment. We're going to talk about a movie that came out many years ago before you kids were around. This one is X2, X-Men United. This is Bryan Singer's follow-up to his amazing smash hit that came out in 1999, X-Men. I'm sorry, it came out in 2000. It was X-Men. And so this is the sequel to the movie that no one thought would be a hit. Everyone was like, what is this X-Men thing? I can't believe you let him waste all this money. Bam. People didn't know about it. Explosion. So X2 came out, and I got to say, X2 trumped X-Men. I thought it was even better developed, better characters, more action, more of everything that you wanted. And it was another slam dunk for Bryan Singer. Let's talk about it. Robert, what were your thoughts on
it? Well, you know, I produced the special edition of X2, the DVD. So I was actually on set a lot. I was going back and forth on set. And I have to tell you, one of the things that I couldn't believe were the sets, like the whole Weapon X lab. I mean, that Guy Dias did those sets, and it was the first time that Bryan and Guy had worked together. And Dan Harris and Mike Doherty wrote X2, their writing on Apocalypse. And I thought the scale of the movie, I mean, it was what I had dreamed of. X-Men, Bryan always complained that he didn't have enough money. He made it work. But X2, they gave him what he needed.
Right.
And I thought that the storyline and the way it was made, and I mean, the whole Nightcrawler attack on the White House, what a way to open a movie. I mean, and even Nightcrawler happening at all. and the makeup and Kelly Hu, and it was just I loved it. And being there, and I have a real place in my heart for X2, but I think it was the time. I really think X2, if it wasn't as successful as it was, we wouldn't have Marvel movies. There wouldn't be Spider-Man. There wouldn't be the MCU. And the fact that was really the first MCU movie, in a way, X-Men could have been a one-off.
Sure.
But then they brought other characters from the X-Men mythos into that movie.
The sequel that could and did. It was better than the first one.
And it set the tone, and it proved that you could bring in these other characters. You could draw from that wide net of mutants and make it work.
John, what do you think about X2?
I still contend it is one of the greatest comic book movies ever made.
Yeah.
It's like right from that, it was one of the greatest openings any comic book movie ever. Like with that Nightcrawler attack on the White House was incredible. And the Nightcrawler character himself actually ends up being a fascinating character. Yeah. There are so many cool things they do it, but also they don't sacrifice good storytelling. To me, the key scene that really gives you the personality of X-Men 2 that nobody ever talks about, it's a scene where they're in Iceman's parents' house. And they're sitting around, they're talking to his parents. And Adam Stanford, who played Pyro, there's this scene where he stands there and he just looks up at a picture on the wall of Bobby and his family. And then it goes back to his face. And in that one shot, they told a story that other filmmakers would have done like a 7-minute segment to do. In that one shot, without any dialogue, you understood this kid did not have this. Mm-hmm. He did not have a family who loved him. You sense now there's a jealousy issue there now. You get a sense of what his background is, what maybe makes him the way he is. Why is he so hot-headed? No pun intended. Why is he so, his temper is so on the edge? All that story told in a shot of a family portrait and then a shot of his face. Mm-hmm. And that epitomizes what Bryan Singer has done in these X-Men films. Great, cool, iconic characters blended in and pushed into really good and efficient storytelling all at the same time. I mean, Kelly Hu, I thought she was great in that. I really love her new work in those Cialis commercials. I think she's doing wonderful work in those. But I mean, everybody, the whole story and the way it ended with them in the president's office. Right. And it was so well done. And then I remember so clearly the audience. I was in a very comic book educated audience the first time I saw it, because at the very end, when you hear Jean Grey narrating the opening that Patrick Stewart usually does, and then you start to see the silhouette of the flaming phoenix under the water, the whole place lost their minds. Right. And I didn't think anybody would get it, right? It just so well done, so ahead of its time. Yeah. I just love this film.
Yeah, too bad they ruined it with X-Men 3. But look, when I remember coming out of X2 and just congregating with a bunch of my other nerd friends, like right outside of the Grauman's Chinese Theater. We saw it there. It was like 15 of us. We hung out for 20 minutes afterwards just talking about the film because it was so fantastic. So I really always look at X2 as what an amazing superhero film and what an amazing sequel to take everything, the foundation of what they started in the first one, and just explode outward into a great story.
The movie for me, because I was working on the DVD, they have to send you a copy of the movie to work on. So months before the movie opened, there I was in my edit bay. I wanted to bring everybody I knew, hey, come see what I have in my edit bay. And we watched it every day as we were working on that, cutting together the special features. And I couldn't tell anyone. Maybe a few people.
A couple people.
Might have come by. But it was I just couldn't believe that it existed because I was huge. For me, the X-Men were like Star Trek was. They were the Star Trek of comic books for me. I love the X franchise, and I love from X-Men 100 when Dave Cockrum was drawing it.
Oh yeah,
and all the way through up until the mid 200s. I mean, that was my childhood X-Men experience, and that movie captured it. I mean, yeah. The costumes, people are I don't like those but it made sense.
Right.
You can't translate comic book costumes into the real world. It wouldn't work.
Yeah, I mean, even with the X-Men Apocalypse, it's the 80s, so they can have a little fun with some of those colorful costumes.
Jubilee's
now.
Costume, for example.
Bright yellow. Perfect. Yeah, she's going to have that. So it makes sense, and we got to thank everyone who put this film together for making such a great X-Men movie. Let's move on to a thing I like to call Spotlight, where we take a comic book character or franchise that has not actually been made into a movie or a television series yet. And this week, it is the Metal Men. So this is a DC property that basically had this crazy scientist who smoked a pipe, looked like Bob Dobbs. Magnus was his name, and he basically a bunch of different origins over the course of the decades. But basically, had all the main metals, and they had their own personalities. You know, I always hated Mercury. He was very annoying. Kind of reminded me of like Plastic Man or something. Platinum had a crush on Magnus. She always felt like she was a real, almost like Jessica Rabbit, you know. So it had that momentum. You had lead, you had gold. So I think Tin, you know, maybe he had some problems too. He was like the weaker one, you know, but he's very smart. So I think these characters would make a great animated series. Like if Pixar had a chance to crack off and make the Metal Men, this would be an incredible, fun family film for everyone.
You know, one of the things about the Metal Men, even growing up, I was not a fan of the Metal Men. I always kind of thought they were dumb. But then there was something when I'd actually sit down and read a Metal Men story, they were endearing.
Yes.
Like whenever they would appear, like they appeared in Final Crisis and stuff. But then in the 90s, they had people, like they revamped the Metal Men, and they weren't the Metal Men anymore. Right. They were people that were put into the bodies of these robots.
I'm trapped in this gold outfit.
Yeah,
gold.
I was like, wait, you can't do that. I mean, the Metal Men were always kind of this goofy fun, and when they would show up, I liked them, even though the idea of them, I didn't want to read a Metal Men comic. If they guest starred, I'm like, all right, that's cool. Like if they would show up on like Earth 47 or whatever. But then in the 90s, I felt betrayed when the Metal Men were revamped and turned into just people. And I'm like, why'd you do that? I didn't like it.
How about you, John?
No.
No?
Just no. No, the feeling you had, remember you said you thought, I just thought they were kind of lame. And then you found them endearing. I never got to the endearing stage. I never progressed to that stage. And also when they did the revamp, I actually thought that was a step in the right direction, although not nearly a big enough step to the point that I enjoyed them or anything like that. To me, they became the Wonder Twins to me of the Justice League cartoon show. Don't put them in anything else. You know, they're kind of cute in their own little thing, but just... I'm just not interested.
So they kind of were that. I always thought that somebody watched The Wizard of Oz one night, probably stoned, and said, "What if we had a whole super team of Tin Men?"
That's right.
You know, and
that's grumpy. That's slumpy.
Right.
That's dumpy.
Yeah, and it's just.
I personally think that Pixar should, or some animated company should take this team and make a great family film. Because I think if you go back to the '60s version of the Metal Men, where they're all kind of created out of, you use nanotechnology, or like upgrade a little bit, use some new technology. It's a really fun family film just waiting to happen. So because that's it for the spotlight sequence, unless you have something else.
Well, I was just going to say they scream Silver Age.
They do.
You know, they were.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
The same era that Krypto, became a character, or Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen teamed up with Kirby's Fourth World characters. I mean, it was something like that.
They had like villains like Chemo, I think. It was like giant vat of liquid toxic waste. So, there's a lot of very bizarre things. If you've never heard of the Metal Men, just go online, check them out. You can read some of their comics from the 60s. They're not very expensive because nobody likes them. So you can check it out. Buy issue number 1 for 38 cents. And then when some amazing, smart studio makes it an incredible animated feature film, it becomes the next Guardians of the Galaxy, you could sell it for $5,000, or at least say, I knew who the Metal Men were. So I think that's going to wrap it up. We don't have Twitter questions this week because of San Diego Comic-Con, and we just had a lot of stuff to deal with. But if you do have any questions, please write it at #ColliderVideoHeroes, and we'll be answering a whole bunch of them next week on episode 18. This was episode 17 of Heroes. I'd like to thank our guests, John Campea. Where can people find you online?
You guys can find me every day on AMC Movie Talk, of course, and you can follow me on Facebook and on Twitter, just at John Campea.
Robert Meyer Burnett, what's going on with you, and where can people find you?
Well, you can find me, I'm doing a crowdsourcing Star Trek movie, and you can find us at either SaveTheFederation.com or KlingonVictory.com, and support if you can. Or you can find me on Instagram at RMBurnett or Twitter at BurnettRM, and I'll take any questions you want. And if you want to talk about the Metal Men, I'm open to do that.
And just a quick thing, the hashtag is actually Collider Heroes.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's not Collider Video.
Yeah.
So it's at Collider. It's a hashtag Collider Heroes.
Yes.
So just write me questions there. We'll pick a whole bunch of them. We'll make up for this week. So it'll probably be like 20 questions next week for you guys to sweat it out. So ask me some good questions. Nothing about Batman v Superman because we're going to cover that for the next like 78 weeks or whatever.
Until the movie comes
ask
out.
me some other things about other superhero comic book characters or movies. I'm Jon Schnepp. You can find me at Twitter and Instagram just at Jon Schnepp and at TDOSLWH. My film, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, is out. It came out. We premiered it at San Diego Comic-Con, released it. The DVD, the Blu-ray, the digital download. You could buy it right now by going to www.tdoslwh.com. Once again, www.tdoslwh.com. Place your order and check out my movie. I'd appreciate it. I'll see you next week at Collider Heroes.